Yo, what is good everybody? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Malcolm Dakar, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys how I make a big pant pattern. So before we get into it, I am going to be using the numbers that we got when we took our own measurements as a reference. So if you haven't watched my video yet, please do, or just watch any video on how to measure yourself so you're not confused. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create two lines, one going vertical and one going horizontal. And you want to leave some space in between at the top and the sides because we're going to be adding a couple inches to that as we begin our pattern making process. And yeah, so you just want to make a straight line as big as your paper is, make a straight line going up and over. And to get started, we're going to take the widest part of our hip measurement, divide that by 4, and then I'm going to add about 3 inches to mine, and you can add as many inches as you want to achieve the width that you want. So I'm going to take my tape measure, go over from my horizontal line, and go over 13 inches. How are you guys doing today? I forgot to ask. And I want to ask because hopefully you feel good, you feel energized, hydrated, drink plenty of water, especially as it starts to get hot out. And so we're just going to make that new line for the 13 inches. And hopefully this is like a simplified version for you guys. I see a lot of videos out that are pretty complex, and not to say this won't be complex also, but I feel like I've simplified pattern making for myself in general, just because as I recreated these, I wanted it to be as easy to understand for myself as possible. So yeah, hopefully this is a pretty simple version. Okay, so this is going to be our front leg. Hold on. And hopefully you can see the pencil. I have a marker that I'm going to go back and draw with, but for now I'm using a pencil just in case I need to erase something. But this is going to be our front leg, and this is like the area in which we'll be working within. And then next you want to make the back leg. And I typically do like front and back at the same time. And I'll show you here why. And you want to make sure you have enough space to create both legs. If you don't, maybe tape some paper together or something like that. Okay. So next, again, we're going to go over from this line, this new line we just created, 13 inches. And I'm also hoping my sound sounds okay. I just got a wireless mic that I'm testing out, and it has different levels, and hopefully this is the right one and you can hear me pretty well. Okay. Then again, we're just gonna connect those new points. Okay, so now we have both our hips, we have our front and our back. And next, we're going to take the measurement that was our waist to the widest part of our hip. For me, that's about 8 inches, but I want to drop it an inch just to see what that looks like. I'm kind of curious. And so I'm going to go down from my waist. So this is your waistline right here. So from my waist, I'm going to go down 9 inches. And do the same for the back. Go down 9 inches. And then we're just going to create a line. Next line we are going to create. Why does this look? Uh, why does this look off? Hold on. And it's always good to go back and remeasure just to make sure things are straight. Because you do mess up. You will mess up. I mess up all the time. It's just something that happens, you know. Okay. Okay, so the next measurement is going to be the waist to where we want our crotch to end, if that makes sense. And so for me, it's typically I'll do like 12 inches. So from my waist down 12 inches, I'll create a line, and then I'll create my curve for both my um, parts. But I think I want to drop it down a little more, similar to how I dropped this measurement here. So I think I'm going to do. I think I'm gonna do like 13 and a half. Yeah, let's try 13 and a half. And as the designer and creator of your clothing, you know, you can just play around with these numbers, because it's not like something has to be 12 inches or has to be, you know, this, that, and the third. It can be whatever you want, and you can try out whatever whatever kind of thing you have in your mind. And I will say I typically don't draw my designs out. I just have an idea in my head of what I want, and then I will um, just make it and see kind of what happens. But as I've come to make my own patterns and clothing and stuff, I've come to understand a little better like what these numbers mean in relation to how things will look, if that makes sense. You know, so like with this pant, I know it's going to be um, big and wide, which is what I want. And so the next measurement we're going to do is our knee measurement. And this doesn't matter as much because it's just going to be a very wide leg pant, um, but I still mark it anyways. And so from my waist down 21 and a half inches, I'll mark that. Okay, then same as before, we create a line. So next line, this will be the final line that we create vertically, I guess I'll say. and that is from the knee line down to however long you want your pant to be. And so I always kind of decide as I'm doing my pattern how long I want it to be. Since I'm making a very wide leg pant, I don't really want to create a short leg, create the floods or anything. I want to make something long as well. And so for me, it would be roughly like 27 inches, 28 inches would be something that would um, be pretty baggy. And so I think I'm going to do, I think I'm going to do 28 and just have a really big pant. These are going to be pretty big. So mark 28. And then mark that. Let's see. Okay, so just to recap, we have our waistline, the our waist to the widest part of our hip, but again I dropped that an inch, so it's 9. Then we have the waist to where the crotch line will start or end. We have the waist to the knee line, and then waist to our bottom hem. And so what do I want to do next? Also, I forgot, I will, I always mark my numbers on my pattern, so when I have to go back to it, I don't need to remeasure. I just know, okay, 9 inches from the waist is, this is 9, this is 13 and a half, this is 21 and a half. So yeah, don't be confused that, it's on this line because I'm referencing uh, it going this way. And to mark this, I'll just write it over here. 28, I think I did. Yeah, 28. Okay, so next, let me talk about these numbers right here. So you are going to go out a couple inches, like 1.25 inches for the front to create your front curve, and then I typically go 5 inches and 1/4 over for the back to create my back. But this is something I kind of learned recently, and that is the wider the leg and like the more room you have with the hip, like with like this measurement, I think the less you need for the curve, because that curve is to help you to help everything fit, right? So it fits, your backside and your front, everything. So if the overall leg is wider, I don't think you need as much room coming this way, if that makes sense. And so because of that, I think I'm going to um, not make it as wide, I'll say. So I think let me see, hold on. 1.25 inches. I think I'm still gonna do 1.25 inches for this, for the front, because that's not that, oh shit. Because that's not that far over. But for the back side, I'm going to do, let's see. I think I'm going to do, I feel like I could do 4.5 and it would still fit. Like this line wouldn't be going into my crack. Like when you put on pants that don't fit. I can show you actually. So when you put on pants, you'll have this curve right here. So this curve, and it's like an actual curve if you were like to lay it out, starts to curve like that. This curve is this line that I'm talking about here that we're going to create. And then we have the back side as well that creates that curve. And so, yeah, I think going over 4.5 wouldn't cause like this to be in my butt crack when I go to put them on. But again, who knows? Maybe it will. And that's just something that we'll have to keep note of and then be like, okay, so 4.5 is too short, so let me add a 1/2 inch to that. And that's sort of just how I've come to make my patterns and do things is, trial and error. And you have to just make note of what doesn't fit in the right areas so you can know to add or subtract to the right parts on your pattern. So yeah, I think I'm going to go over 4.5. Let me look at it for a little bit. Yeah, 4.5, because again, I'll have so much room in this leg, I won't need as much space. So 4.5. And let's start with the front before we do the back. Let me see. Okay, 60 minutes. Only 60 minutes in, that's cool. I'm trying to get through this a little quickly just because, time management and all that. Okay, so yeah, let's do the front first. And so to do the front, we're going to take our French curve, and we're going to curve it. We're going to curve some things up. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Let's actually do the waist first. So to do the waist for the front, we're going to go down an inch. We're going to go down an inch from our waist on this side, the side that we added the 1 1/4 to. We're going to go down an inch, and then from that inch, we're going to mark where the 8-inch point is. So from this point to this point, it's 8 inches. And you want to keep note of that because the zipper that we will put in when we go to create this will be 7 inches. And this needs to be 8 inches for everything to fit nicely. And I'll show you as we actually create these garments what I'm talking about. But so from this point to this point, we're going to create our curve. And so I'm lining it up. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 3/4. So that line is about 4 3/4. So from this point to this point, it's 4 3/4. And yeah, so what I was saying about this being like the crotch line is where the crotch line starts or ends. Like once it hits this point, then it curves into here. Hold on. So once it gets to this point, it starts to curve into the actual leg. And so, yeah, the more you drop that, the more this curve will be here, the more this point will be here, and it'll just be dropped, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. And bear with me as I try to explain things to people because, like, it's been interesting trying to articulate what's in my head to explaining to people that I don't know how you learn or if you get it. Hopefully you do, but just leave a comment if you don't, and I'll be happy to explain. Okay. Okay, wait. No, I'm sorry. We were doing the waist. That's why stuff it wasn't feeling right. We were doing the waist, and so for the waist, since this is a wide leg pant, the waist could be like your actual waist measurement. For me, that's like 34, which would be a significant difference from the waist to like the curve of this. And let me just show you kind of what I mean by that. So this pant I made, it was a big pant. I think same same hip is a pattern that I'm doing now. So the hip was like 52 inches and my waist is 34. And so it creates this curve that I believe will always just happen because it is such a significant difference from your waist to your hip. And so when you put them on, it kind of creates like this piece of extra fabric that doesn't really like poke out, but it's noticeable. And so I kind of don't like that. And so I thought about it for a while, and then it came to my mind that that's always going to happen. So if you want to take in the waist, if you're creating like a wide leg and you still want it to fit your waist, you should take it in from within the waist, if that makes sense. So instead of only going over like 8.5 inches and then creating that curve, I'm going to go over like 11.5 inches, then create that curve so it's not as significant. And then I'm going to like make a couple pleats or something to take in that waist so that it'll still fit at my waist, but it won't create that huge curve, extra piece of fabric that kind of just looks weird to me. So hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go over 11 and a half. Let me see. Yeah, 11 and a half sounds right. So we can go to the back as well. And so for the back, you want to add an inch to the line that we added the, what was it, 4.5? Yeah, 4.5 to. So we're going to go up an inch. And then from that new point, we're going to go over 11 and a half. Okay. So now we're going to create a line. Bong bong. Then mark 11 and a half, 11 and a half. You can also put 13-inch hip, just so you remember that as well. Okay, so now I'm going to connect this point to my knee line. And you want to mark this number because it's very important, and I'll tell you why in a second. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So about 8 inches. Okay, so mark 8 inches. And this line is very important because when I used to make my patterns, I would make this line here, and then I would go over and I would make this line here. And these two lines get sewn together at some point when you're making your pattern, when you're making your garment. And I was noticing that these lines weren't lining up. So I was getting like puckers in parts, and I had to kind of pull and tug because it wasn't getting sewn in smoothly. And so what I noticed was this line has to be the same number as this line. And to do that, you have to, typically you'll have to drop this line down a little bit to make it fit this line. And so what I mean by that is, oh yeah, I forgot, I'm sorry. You also want to add an inch to this before we even do any of that. You want to add an inch from the knee line down, and you do that because typically the back leg is wider than the front. And so you'll notice, when you look at pants, a little bit of the back will come over toward the front. So yeah, I will add an inch over from there to account for that. Okay, so I just kind of looked at some of the video, and I feel like it is kind of hard to see this, but again, I'm going to go back with my marker and I'm going to create those lines, so hopefully you'll see them better. But where were we? Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, before we do this, we have to go over an inch. And so just go over. And some of the things, the reason like I do what I do is because I just saw in a video a long time ago or in a book a long time ago, like how to do these things. And for me, it's been like, if it looks good and it's what it achieves like what I want, I'm not gonna overthink it. And so yeah, I just always have added an inch because that's just what I saw at some point in time, and I just liked the what the outcome was. So yeah, you only need to add it from the knee line down on the back leg. Okay, so now we can make this point connect to this point, and keeping in mind that it needs to be 8 inches to fit the front. So what I like to do is straight up just go 8 inches and use my tape measure to kind of create that curve. And then I'll just mark where that point actually is. Then I'll go over 4.5, mark. Then this point right here is the new point that will go from here to here. Then I'll take my little curved ruler and then I'll go over, bang, like that. And then just to keep them, just to make sure, I'll go over. And yeah, it's 8 inches. So I'll mark that 8 inches. And then now we can create this curve right here. And to do that, again, I don't know why, it's just something that I learned and it fits me well and I like the outcome, so I do it. And that is from our waist to the widest part of our hip, we're gonna go over half of what this line is. So 4.5, divided by 2. Or what I like to do is just take my tape measure and just go over 4.5 just to create half of that. And then I'll just put it down. And mark that like that. And so from our waistline to that point, we create a straight line. And then I'll take my French curve ruler and place it down. Really, you could kind of use either side. I think I typically use the front, yeah, the one that says a front pattern. And then do like that. And I typically don't write down the numbers for this line just because I know it'll fit. And if it doesn't, I'll just know to make something wider or something like that. But yeah, I typically won't make that, put that number down. And so where are we at? Okay, we can finish up top here by going over. So I'm just creating this curve from my waist to the widest part of my hip. And yeah, you're just creating a little curve there to finish that off. And then doing the same. Okay, so as you can probably not see, I'm not sure, but we have what looks like two pants. Yeah. Okay, so if you want a straight leg, you can leave this straight. But if you want to take it in, taper the bottom hem a little bit, what you would do is from your knee line, you find that middle. Okay, so once you find that middle, you're just splitting 13 inches and dividing that by 2. You're going to create a line. It's good to have something like really long when you're making pants too, because like this ruler wouldn't really, so. Okay, so to take this in, I'm trying to decide how much I want to take it in. Um, okay, my bad. I made a oopsie, which is why I wanted to do this in pencil, because I knew I'd probably mess up at some point. And what I forgot to do was go from this new point to this point when I found my middle line. And so I'm just going to erase this one. And since this is now 14 inches, I'm going to go over 7 inches on each side. Then mark that line. Bong. Now from this line, from this new line, I'm going to go over, this is 11, I'm going to go over 6 inches. And 6 inches. Oh yeah. So now from these points, I'm going to connect them. Yeah, I barely taper my stuff anymore. That's why I made that oopsie. Okay. Just going to clean this up a little bit. Jesus. Jeez Louise. Ooh, I shouldn't erase that line yet. Oops. Okay. Okay, so I just wanted to clean this up a little bit, but let me put this line back in. Um, okay, so yeah, we have our front and our back. I think I included everything and I talked about everything that I wanted to. That's 11 inches. This is 12. Both 8 inches. So okay, let's just recap. We have our waist, which we came down an inch from that waistline, and we went up an inch from our waistline for the back. Then we have our waist to the widest part of our hip, then our waist to the crotch line, then our waist to our knee line, then our waist to our bottom hem, and same for the back. Just remembering to drop this down so that these 2 points and these 2 points match up, and this will always typically be like whatever you made it. So this 28, this also 28. So yeah, everything lines up. Make sure this is 8 inches if you're using a 7-inch zipper. Okay, so yeah, we have created our pant pattern, and like I said, I'll go through with the marker. But before I do that, I want to show you how to make a pocket, and I will typically do that right on the pattern before I cut it out, because I want to go off of this straight line here. And you know, you can make the pocket whatever size and everything you want. I typically make mine pretty deep just because I have like long arms, and so I guess it feels better for me to be able to put my hands like deeper in my pockets. So yeah, it's just kind of a preference that I like to do. But okay, so to make your pocket, um, let's just go down. So I sort of just look at my pattern and I decide where I want, how far over I want it. And I just eye it out and look at it for a while. But I'm sorry, yeah, shouldn't be using a tape measure. I'll use this, and I'll just go over. And you know, you can also kind of pretend like there is a pocket here and everything and see. So you know, you can just imagine, okay, my hand is like right here, so it'll be hitting this line right there. And looking at that, I want to go over a little bit more. You know, big pants, big pockets. I think that's fair. Erase that line. So yeah, that's going to be a pretty big pocket. Okay, so we've created that, and now we are going to go over. And lately I've been making like my pocket a curve and just coming over like that, just because when I go to serge it, it makes it a little easier to serge. But it's totally up to you what type of pocket you want to do. If you want to just do something like that, you can do that, and you can because you're the designer, you know. So I'm gonna go down. So from this line here, I'm just gonna, well, really from like this line, I'm gonna go down. Really, I don't need to go down anymore. Let's just go down 1 inch because this is already a pretty big pocket. And make that new line. And then, like I said, how do I curve? Just, bloop. Yeah, that looks good. So yeah, this is now our pocket. And so now we need to create our opening. And so to do that, what I've done when I first started off was I would get pants that were made already, and then just measure how wide. I would measure how wide this was, and just make note of that, and then make mine the same if I felt like my hands, slid comfortably into the pocket. And something to keep in mind, since we are potentially adding like pleats to this pant, I don't think I would go this way, just because then the pleat would be over more. So I'm gonna go like this way. Just something to keep in mind. But also you can make multiple pockets. What I like to do is make, this is like this overall piece right here is this inside piece right here, and I can even maybe show you. So you see like the curve here too. So this overall piece is this piece right here, and you can interchange um, this piece. So if you want to do this, you can do that, or you can make another piece that goes like that, and you can just interchange those depending on what you want. But yeah, I'm gonna go this way, and I think typically I do about 6.5 inches as an opening. Um, and you can, yeah, I think like 6.5 is good. So I would, and again, it's totally up to you. You can make a straight line. You can, use this to make a little curve. I think I'm just gonna make a little curve. But yeah, it's really just all based on how you want to do it. So I'm just marking 6.5, and I'm using my ruler. So now we have our opening, and I think that's it. Oh, and we can do the back yoke right now too. And so to do that, once again, totally up to you. If you want that back yoke to be all the way down here, go for it. If you want it to be super short, go for it. I typically do like something basic, but let me think about it. Do I want to do something different? Okay, yeah, I think I'm just gonna do something along the lines of 1.5 inches. So from this straight line, not the straight line that has that's inclined. Not, let me just hopefully you could just see my hand. Not from this line, but from this straight line here, we're gonna go down 1.5 inches. And so once I do that, I'll typically just make I'll do like 2 lines, like one right here, one right here, just to indicate that this is where I'm actually going to be cutting, because we need to make a seam allowance, which we'll do next. So yeah, okay, now we have finished making our pant pattern. We have our front, our back, our pockets, and our back yoke. And then in the next segment, I'll show you guys how to make the accessories. You know, the waistband, the zipper fly, or whatever this piece is, extended piece, and the back pockets. But before we get into that, we have to create our seam allowance. And okay, I think I'll just use my marker after I make my seam allowance. So I've come to kind of be able to eye out what 3/8 looks like, which is what I use as my seam allowance. I know some people use 5/8, but I don't know. I never came to understand why that was, and I don't sew with 5/8. So yeah, 3/8 all the way around. Yeah, I know you guys definitely can't probably see exactly how this pattern looks. I think I'm just gonna get, I don't know, just a thicker pencil. One of those thick, like, kindergarten pencils we used to have in kindergarten. I might just get one of those. The big lead. Um, because yeah, if I was just to use marker throughout all this and I messed up, yeah, that would just be ugly, and I wouldn't want to do that. But we'll figure it out. So yeah, when you're doing this, you're pretty much just making like an outline of the pattern you just made, 3/8 all the way around, like all the way around the whole thing. Okay, last thing we're going to do after we add 3/8 to the bottom, we're going to add an extra either 1/2 inch, 3/4, just something else that, we're going to turn over and then sew. So I'm going to do 1/2 inch. Because, when you're doing your hems and stuff, you turn it over twice. And so it's going to be folded over 3/8, then another 1/2 inch, and then sewn down. Sewn down, we're going to sew it down. All right, now I'm going to hit it with the marker. Bear with me, I'm trying to have a steady hand. Ooh. Okay. Hopefully that looks good. We also need to add 3/8 to this pocket. And my camera's about to die, so before that does, let me do that. And then we will come back at a... Okay, so where did we leave off? Let's see. Okay. So, yeah, okay, so I was outlining stuff. And so let's just go over it one more time. Waistline, waist to the widest part of your hip, waist to the crotch line, waist to knee line, and then waist to hem. 13 inches is the rectangle that I've made. But you can add as many inches as you want to, depending on the width that you'd like to have. Okay, so I'm actually not even gonna trace this back leg because I'm gonna cut it out. And so it wouldn't even make sense to do that. So, okay. Time. I don't know how long that was, but okay. Now we've got both our pieces, and if you've decided to also make a big pant, both your pieces should look something similar to this. Next, we're going to do our accessories, and by that I mean our waistband, the pocket, back pockets. This piece, I don't know if it's actually called zipper fly, and then this piece, the other piece that goes on the opposite side. And I, I, I like typically will forget like what something is called, and as long as I know how to do it, I don't really, I don't really care too much. But I know I should know what this is actually called. But anyways, let's do. And yeah, so yeah, I have these pieces already created because I made these a long time ago, and I use these every single time I make a pant, because like I said, as long as I'm using a 7-inch zipper, these two pieces will work. And then yeah, my waistband, I typically always use over and over, unless I have like a much wider waist, and then I'll add to that. And then yeah, my back pockets, I have two variations. I have kind of the curved round one and then the standard one. I like to use both at different times. But yeah, I've had these created already, so I'm going to try to remember how I made them. I sort of remembered, but I haven't done it in such a long time because, yeah, these pieces are a couple years old, I think. But okay, let's get into it. Okay, so what I'm thinking the easiest way for you at home to do this is going over from that 8-inch point to the waist, going over, what is that, 2 and 5/8, going over 2 and 5/8. So bong, bong, and then making a straight line like that. And then, you already have this line here, so you've made this line, and you just want to create a curve. Yeah, so just create a curve. You could maybe take your ruler. I think that might be two. Let's see. Also, sometimes, I'll just use something I have lying around if it calls for it, and just bong. Let's see. And it doesn't have to be exactly like this piece, but um, let me see. Yeah, that works. So yeah, if you have some duct tape lying around, just like create a little curve there, and then you have your whatever this whatever this piece is called. You have that now, and I'll show you how to trace this out once we get to that step. But for now, you can just leave that how it is, and now you have this piece. And next is this piece, and let me see. Okay, yeah. So okay, hold on. I'm gonna give y'all some free game right now. 8 inches. It's like 8 and 5/8. Okay, so grab a scrap piece of paper, and this is straight, so I'm just gonna go off of this. But mark 8 inches. So do that and do that. And then go over, it's like 2 3/8. Yeah, it's like 2 3/8. Then go over 2 3/8. And then make a line. And then square this off. So come over. Hold on. Is that 2 3/8? Okay. And then yeah, just go off of this line here. And so pretty much you're making an 8 by 2 3/8 rectangle. And so from there, go up then go up 1/4 of an inch. So like that. And then let's see. Then uh, let's just say 1/2 inch. Then go down 1/2 inch. So yeah, so make an 8 by 2 3/8 box rectangle. Then go up 1/4 of an inch, and then go down 1/2 inch, and then connect that line. Okay. So this line, I know you probably can't see, but this line right here will be the fold. And then, so you're gonna put this piece on the fold of the fabric and then cut it out. But I'll show you. So yeah. And then you're gonna add seam allowance. And the seam allowance for this, I don't add seam allowance on this end because I'm just gonna overlock this. But if you don't plan on overlocking it, you could add seam allowance and then turn that piece over, so the raw edge isn't just you don't just got the raw edges booty out, you know. Okay, so and I actually think um, the seam allowance was added here too. That's why it's 2 3/8. But all I know is that I never add seam allowance on that piece, so we're good. Hmm. Okay. Um. So yeah, that should be good. I feel like that's good. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty easy. So yeah, again, I'll just go over it one more time. 8 by 2 3/8. Go down 1/2 inch. Go up 1/4 of an inch, and then add seam allowance on both ends. And then you can cut this piece out. Also make sure to write, just so you remember, fold on this line so you know that it goes on the fold. And I don't know if I've said it already, but knowing how to make your own patterns, it just gives you the freedom of knowing like everything that's going on. And I know some people know how to like read patterns pretty easily, but when I first started sewing and I bought a pattern from Joann's, uh, it was just like it was like alien language that I was reading, and it just didn't make sense to me. I was like, why is this here? Like, what is this? What is that? You know, kind of thing. And so with this, I just know exactly what each line is and what it does, um, which I like. I don't know. Okay, so we've got this piece. We created that piece on the pattern. Now let's do the back pocket. Um, we can just do this one because I don't know, maybe more people would create this back pocket as opposed to this one. But to do that, and this piece also has, you know, seam allowance already added into it. Um, okay. Again, grab a scrap piece of fabric, or I'm sorry, scrap piece of paper, and you guys don't have to use my numbers, you know. Again, if you're using a 7-inch zipper, like these two pieces, for sure you should probably use because um, it fits really well, if that makes sense. But I'll show you once we actually get into to the garment making. But yeah, like for the back pocket, you don't really have to use my measurement. For the front pockets, you don't have to use my measurements. You know, if you wanted something, a pocket all the way down here, you know, just drop that thing all the way down and have fun with it, you know. Okay, so this is about 8 1/8. So what I'll do is use my ruler to make a straight line like that. And then since it's squared off, you know, I'll just make a straight line like that so I don't have to try to figure out, is this straight, is that straight? And so I'll just go off of this line and then make a straight line like that. And then you can go over 8 1/8, then go down 8 1/8. Okay, so you got 8 1/8, and then let's see what this overall is. About 8 1/2. So I'm gonna go down 8 1/2, then go over 8 1/2, then create that. And so next you're just gonna find the middle of this. Um, Again, sometimes I'm bad with numbers. I'm often bad with numbers. I literally just know 3/8 and that's it. That's all the numbers I know. But yeah, just find the middle. Bang, bang. Okay, so now we found the middle, and now it's just, you know, up to you to figure out, you know, how far up you want to go. For this one, I went up about, let's see, how do I, let's see, let's see. shoot. Wait, hold on. Duh, hold on. Wait, no, this isn't right. Okay. To figure out, I'm just gonna guess, but I think I went up about, what was that, 2 and 1/8? I don't know. Again, disregard all that. But you can just go up however however much you want and whatever looks good, you know what I mean? So just kind of imagine this, um, you know, on your pant or something. Let's see. I could just do this too. Yeah, so I went up about, it was about 2 and 1/8. So yeah, this one I went up 2.5. We could just go up 2.5. And then you just connect those two dots. And you really only need to make one side because you could just cut on the fold. But now you know how to make both sides. Like so. Now we have our back pocket and we can, no, you don't need to add seam allowance. Seam allowance is already added. So is the 1/2 inch that you would then turn over again to sew down before sewing it onto the pant. But you got that finished. And I forgot to mention, make sure you're going as slow as possible so you don't cut into your pattern. I still do it often because I move too fast and I need to slow down. So now we have our back pocket. Final thing is a waistband. And if you've been with me this far, I applaud you because I know it is a lot. Hopefully, again, hopefully I've like simplified it. I feel like this is the most simplified way a pant pattern, basic pant pattern can be made. And by basic I mean, it just has a standard back yoke, you know, two, standard pockets, no cargo pocket, no this, that, and a third. It's just, a basic pant. But yeah, if you've made it to this point, clap it up, get sturdy with it, do your thing, because you have made your own pant pattern, which pants are, in my opinion, really hard to make. There's a lot of things that, I don't know, since, I didn't go to school for this, it was just a lot of things I had to figure out as I just butchered pant after pant, So hopefully I can deter you from butchering anything and you'll just make something very nice right off the bat. Okay, so yeah, I just put these pieces together. So for the waistband, again, designer choice. This one is 3 inches, so you would fold that over and it'd be 1.5 inches. That would be the waistband. And if you wanted to go 2, 3, 4, if you want something kind of different, then go for it. And yeah, to make the waistband, you just need to add, figure out what your waist is. 11.5 times 4 is 46, and then you would add like add an extra 3 inches because this piece is going to be sticking out like that. So you need to add an extra piece for that. So yeah, just add an extra 3.5. Just, well, no, you don't need to do that. Just make it, yeah, go 3 inches, go 3.5, go 3.5. So plus, so 49.5 um, is the overall length of the waistband, but you can just divide that by 2 and yeah, divide that by 2 and then just create that piece. So 49.5 divided by 2 is 24 and 3/4. So I'd make 24 and 3/4 line, line going like that. And then however long I wanted the overall waistband to be, I would make it 1.5, again, because I like the way that looks. But yeah, I'll create that now. Again, grabbing a scrap piece of paper. I really hope you've been able to see everything so far, or at least, been seeing what I'm doing. Or at least I feel like if you follow along with what I've been saying, that's good too. But again, for whoever watches this, please don't hesitate to message me and ask me any questions you have, because, I can't get better if people don't tell me. Or maybe this is good enough, I'm not sure. But yeah, don't hesitate for sure. So what was that? 24 and 3/4. So yeah, make a straight line, go over 24, make that line a little longer. Twenty-four, 3/4, 24, 3/4. Go down. I feel like with pattern making, it's a lot of rectangles. I'm just now kind of realizing that everything kind of stems from a rectangle, then you like do some curves and you get a pattern. Next, I'm going to go down 3 inches. 3 inches. Go over. Go over. Okay, so you can mark. Yeah, my bad. I haven't been marking my numbers either. 3/4, so 3, 24 and 3/4. And so one side will be cut on the fold, so you don't need to add seam allowance to that side, but you add seam allowance to all the rest of the piece. So and I didn't show you. Let me show you real quick. If you aren't comfortable with just using your ruler and like eyeing out 3/8, you can just take your tape measure or ruler and mark 3/8 and mark 3/8 and mark 3/8, and then you can connect that line like that. Because I know it took me a while to be able to just eye it out, but once you see it over and over again, I think you just start to see like, okay, no, that's 3/8. I'm starting to figure out what half an inch looks like, and I'm just gonna like keep keep going until I know what everything looks like without needing a tape measure, I guess. I guess that's a cool party trick. Okay, so now we're done with the waistband. We can cut that out. And if you plan on making a lot of patterns, definitely make sure you put some sort of marking on each thing so you know, okay, this is for the pant pattern, the wide leg pant. This is for the straight leg pant kind of thing, because I can speak personally for myself that I definitely have a lot of patterns laying around, and certain pieces I forget what they go to because I didn't put any marking on them. And if you're just starting off, definitely just start like doing that chronologically, if that's the word I'm using correctly, to where you know you're just putting like pattern A or pant B kind of thing, so you don't get confused. Because I was putting weird stuff like CQ4 pattern. It was weird. I don't know. Okay. Now we have our waistband. And I think we have every single piece. Oh, the belt loops. So for the belt loops, and I think that's the final thing after that. I mean, again, for the belt loops, designer choice. If you want some thick joints, you can make some thick joints. If you want some skinny ones, you can make skinny ones. I just randomly grabbed a piece of not fab, a piece of paper that, uh, it says cargo strip on it. But, I'll grab just anything that is kind of the width that I want. And when I go to press it, I'll just fold it over however much I want. It's kind of the lazy way of doing it. I could do it by actually figuring out the width I want my belt loops to be, but I don't know. At that point, to be honest with you, at the point of putting on the belt loops, I'm like, man, I just want to put these on and wear them kind of thing. But with these, since they're so big, I'll definitely need some belt loops in order to wear them without them falling off. And so, if you want to make some belt loops, again, like the strip would be like this, and when you go to press it, I just press one side, then press the other. I typically will serge one side also, and then turn it over, and then I just cut each piece like the length that I want the belt loop to be. And I think this is like long enough because you only need 5, unless you want to add way more, and then you would need more, more width, but more length. I'm sorry, but let's see. Again, square it off. And so yeah, if you wanted the overall belt loop to be, I think I want it to be, I feel like half an inch is good enough. Let's go 5/8. I don't know, something a little thicker. So if you want it to be 5/8, you just go over 5/8, mark it all the way down, and then connect that. And then you would add, let's see, half an inch. I guess, yeah, you could just do it. You could do like 3/8 on one side, then 1/2 inch on the other, and I would serge the 1/2 inch line, turn over 3/8, fold over, let's see, yeah, because a 1/2 inch would go over like that, and then the 3/8 would go over like that, so it would cover the piece. So yeah, go over 3/8 on one side, then go over a 1/2 inch on the other side. Let's see if I can eye this out. It looks like half. I think that's 1/2 inch. I think that's 1/2 inch. Let's see. A little off. Yeah, that one's way off. Okay. Like I said, I'm still eyeing out 1/2 inch, but I'm just gonna. Okay. So 1/2 inch. And if you want, or if you have like a pair of pants you don't wear anymore that you could just take a belt loop off of, or just measure, you could just measure the belt loop and then, figure, okay, I want to add 1/2 inch or 3/8 to both sides, because you're going to want to turn that over to then sew it down. So you could do that, or, if you want to take the actual belt loop off, lay it down, measure it, just so you know, okay, I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like I said, this piece is definitely long enough because as you can see, it's not crazy long, the belt loop. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Definitely more than 5 I'll have. So, square that off. And yeah, let's just see what this is. It's about, I'd say 3 1/4. So you can just go down 3 1/4, 3 1/4. And I'm probably not gonna go down all the way down, but I don't know. Just so you know, the belt loop's gonna be 3 1/4, and then you're gonna turn it over about 3/8, and then sew it down. But yeah, you can cut this out now. And I forgot, there's one final thing that we need to do, which is trace this piece in our pocket. Oh, wait, hold on. And then after that, we have finished. We are done. We are ready to begin cutting our fabric. And even if you did follow my how-to step-by-step, I wouldn't use your best fabric you have yet, even though I do trust that these will fit, big and baggy like how I want them to. I don't know. I don't know what you're doing at home, or if you follow this step, that step. So I would just use something that you are willing to mess up on, especially since you may or may not have ever sewn anything before, because that's a whole different thing. So if you haven't sewn before, definitely don't use the best fabric that you have. Don't go out and buy anything crazy. Just use some bed sheets or something, but also understand that a pair of denim pants and a pair of linen pants will fit differently just because those are two different fabrics, you know. So keep that in mind when you are making your garments as well. Okay, so we got our belt loop. Can put that scrap back under. Okay, so bong, we got our belt loop. We've got this piece for the zipper. We've got this piece for the zipper. We've got our back pocket, our waistband. And put that away. And now just to create our just to trace these two pieces. And to do that, I like to get my cutting board because it makes the indents a little easier to see. Those right there. And you're going to need your tracing wheel. And if you don't have one of these tracing wheel, you could. I mean, I guess if you really had to, you could just cut this out and then like tape it back together. So I would cut it out, draw, you know, around it, then tape it back together. Same with this. I would cut it out, make the pieces, cut this piece out too, make that, then tape everything back together. But that's if you don't have anything to trace it with, or even getting a pen and just having something underneath it that makes it easier to see the puncture marks, and just going around and doing it. Don't do it that quickly though. Do it as slow as you need to go. Let's see. Okay. Totally don't need this big piece, but okay. So to trace this, make sure if you need to, you put something heavy, slightly heavy down. I had a thingy-majigger. Hold on. There it is. I got the cartoon, was a safe thing, I think. It used to drop on your noggin. Okay, so you can, so for the straight lines, like for this straight line, I'm just going to use my ruler and make sure that line is as straight as possible. And then I'm just going to slow as you need to go and just use your pen or pencil. Hopefully you're using a pencil to redraw this curve here up until the point where your pocket ends, and just draw that in. Okay, so next we then are going to take our tracing wheel and just go and trace around. And before moving your heavy object, just kind of make sure you got the puncture marks. Yep, good. Oh, almost forgot. You want to trace the pocket opening as well, making sure you did put seam allowance on that pocket opening, and then tracing around the seam allowance. Now we're good. You can remove your heavy object, and you probably can't see on camera, but I can see the puncture marks. And sometimes I'll just cut it out. Sometimes I'll redraw it. But to be honest, I might just cut that thing out. Okay, so like I said, I see the puncture marks pretty well. So I'm just going to go along and cut because I'm kind of lazy. And it's okay because you've made it this far, and so you get to be a little lazy. But also don't jeopardize your piece because you'll have to cut it again if you don't cut it correctly. That's good, right? That's good, right? So we have that, and I will draw in my pocket opening. And so really, sometimes I will just, make my pattern piece, cut out my piece, and then I'll cut this, and then I'll cut, my pattern piece out, and then I won't make a new piece. I'll just use this piece and this piece. So when I do need to cut this whole piece out again, I'll just kind of piece it together, make sure it's not, shifting or anything, and just cut it out. Because again, sometimes I'm lazy. But as long as you're accurate, it's okay, I think. So next, final thing, is this piece right here. And you can do the same exact thing. Let's see. Well, actually, and you don't have to put it on a piece. Um, let's see, for the straight line. And for the straight line. And then well, you can now cut. Let's see what and I feel like in my first video that I made about the tools that you need, I said I barely use scissors, and I think I've used scissors every single time I've cut something out in this video. So, bang, bang, bang. So now we have this piece like so, and now we are done. We are done. We have finished. Congratulations if you've made it this far, if you've watched up until this point. I know it's probably a ton of information that I've given you. But again, I'll say it again, I think this is the most simplified way you can do it. I've seen a lot of other videos and they just seem a little harder to understand. And maybe it's just because it's their way of doing it. Probably definitely part of that. But yeah, I just think each line is like easy to understand, I'll just, I've, I've probably gone over this a couple different times already, but it's cool. I'll go over it again. We create our waistline, so that's just, again, the straight line going vertically, and then we make a line going horizontal, going a couple inches away from the edge of your paper, so you can then add this piece, and not so much the front, but the back piece, you'll be adding an inch to the top. So yeah, you just make those two lines. That's to start every single pattern that I make. I just make two straight lines. And then I go over 13 inches or however many inches you want to create the length that you want. Going over 13 inches, making that rectangle shape. Everything kind of starts with a rectangle. I don't know if that's true or not, but for this case, it was a rectangle. Start with the rectangle, then you just go down to each line, right? So from your waist to the widest part of your hip, from your waist to this crotch line, from your waist to the knee line, then your waist to the bottom hem, whatever you want that to be. After you've created those lines, you can create your waist. Once you create your waist, you can create that curve. And depending on the type of pant we're trying to make, for this one, I just connected it to this point. But sometimes I might take this and connect it more down here, but we'll get to that at a later time. Once you create your waist, then you would create this piece right here. Again, use these, like since we're making a big pant, right? Use these numbers that I used, 1 1/4 for the front and 4 1/2 for the back, because I think that'll be more than enough space. And again, I don't know what your body types are, but I think that'll give you more than enough space if you're making an oversized pant. So you're adding, 4 inches to your overall hip kind of thing. And so, yeah, use 1 1/4, then make that curve from the 8 inch point. Yeah, so create that curve from this point here that is 8 inches from the waist. And again, you should want to use 8 inches if you're using a 7-inch zipper. So yeah, create that curve. Super, super important. Make sure that these two pieces are the same width or same length, because that's super important when you're sewing those two pieces together. And this piece will typically always be the same, 28 inches or however long you made it. And I think, that's it, right? So it's just, I know it's, and again, I know it's a lot for someone who's never done it, but like it will get simpler and it will just, like, this will just make sense. And again, hopefully with you using certain numbers that I've given you, like, the 4 1/2 to 1 1/4 kind of thing, everything will just fit nicely, hopefully. But if it doesn't, you can tweak those numbers to be like, okay, I didn't have enough space in this section here, so I need to add 1/2 inch or 1.5 inches. And typically what you do to one side, you do to the other. And so, if you felt like you need more space in this curve, I would go over 1.5 inches and then, like, 1/2 inch, 3/4 maybe, for the back. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all for today. That's all that we're gonna go over. So we have our front, which we're gonna cut 2 out of. We have our back, with this back piece with our back yoke already created there. Then we have this piece here. I'm probably never gonna figure out the name of it. We have our 2 pocket pieces. This piece is 2, and then we would cut this out, and then that would be 2. Cutting out 2 pieces of this, our back pocket. This piece here, you only need 1. Belt loops and waistband. And that's really all you need to begin to make your own pants. So in the next video, I'm going to be showing you how to make a pant. It's going to be fun. So I'll see you then.